Episodic games. They were all the rage back in the mid-2010s, when it seemed like anything that was remotely popular got its very own Telltale series and Funko Pop plastic jump. But look at them now. If you can, help me look. Seriously, help me. Where are them? I know the Funko Pop plastic junk is in a landfill somewhere, but what about the episodic games? That gaming scene took a big hit after Telltale Games imploded in late 2018. Things went from bad to worse when Tumblr darling Lifeisstrange dropped the episodic release format entirely for its latest installment. It is starting to look like the episodic thing will soon become a relic of gaming past, like quick time events, motion controllers, and, well, releasing polished games they want. And that's kind of a bummer, really, because I like the episodic release format. I believe it can really work when used properly. And that's the thing. For the most part, I think it hasn't been used properly so far at all, because the narratives presented in these games have been looking for inspiration in the wrong place: prestige TV. The first season of Lifeisstrange looks like one of those 8-hour-long movies arbitrarily split into episodes that sometimes Netflix drops, albeit a really good one. The Walking Dead Telltale series looks like, well, The Walking Dead, which is also heavily serialized. If I were to recall the plot of specific episodes in these games, I simply wouldn't be able to, because the stories they are telling, while great, aren't really episodic. I know, there are some games with more defined episodes. The Wolf Among Us is like that to an extent, while Sam & Max Save the World and Lifeisstrange 2 feel truly episodic. Then again, the former is almost 20 years old, and the latter is hated by the Lifeisstrange fans for some reason, so what do I know? But hell, even those who hate the game can easily remember what each episode in that season is about, and that's because List 2 is truly episodic, with clearly defined chapters with a beginning, middle, and end, and just an overarching narrative of escaping to Mexico to connect them, so it becomes easier to remember what the hell is going on when starting a new episode. Unlike prestige TV or most streaming shows or even books, you don't get all the chapters in an episodic game on a weekly basis or all at once. You're gonna have to wait at least a month between episodes if you're lucky, and then it becomes easier to forget what is going on, and if you're like me, you're gonna have to replay the previous episodes before starting the new one, which sort of defeats the purpose of this particular release format. That's why with time I sort of gave up on following episodic games day one, waiting for a whole season to drop before trying the games out. And then, the game isn't really episodic anymore, is it? To be honest, kudos to Square Enix and Deck 9 for realizing that an episodic release was the wrong format for the type of narrative they had going on in Lifeisstrange True Colors, because the story in that game works much better being played in one sitting. So, if heavily serialized prestige TV, books, and movies aren't the best source of inspiration for episodic gaming, what is it? Well, if you're a teenager in 2023, that might be a big mystery to you. But if you are old enough to have used a floppy disk in your life, you know exactly what the solution to this issue is. Do you know that big screen in your living room that you used to play games with and maybe stream a show that looks too confusing on the tiny screen of your phone? That thing has a remote controller, and if you press some buttons, it will transport you to the magic world of network TV.
I swear, I didn't know anything was wrong.
All new Law & Order, NBC Wednesday.
Yes, network TV. It is always there for us when we need a reliably mid-show to watch while having dinner. If sometimes your dinner is already over by the time you finally find a YouTube video to watch while eating, know that this is a problem your grandma and her third husband simply don't have, because they'll turn on the TV and watch whatever procedural cop show that's already playing. They might not have watched the show before, or they might have missed a full season, and that's okay. It doesn't matter, because those shows are truly episodic. They're all the same. It doesn't matter if you're watching the 20th season of Criminal Crimes Special Miami Unit or the 11th season of Criminal Crimes New York. These things will always feature an ethnically diverse cast of 30-something athletic actors who are already too old to be on a CW show playing beautiful detectives. Well, except for the actors playing quirky characters who wear glasses, like the computer analysts who are faster at compiling information than ChatGPT, the ones responsible for the exposition dumps, and, of course, the one playing the unit chief who has been on the show since the first season and probably doesn't even remember her own name anymore. anymore. And it doesn't really matter, because the focus on these things is on the plot, not the recurring characters. Characters are absolutely expendable. The show might begin with, say, this brunette lady, who's then replaced by 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 one of the previous brunette ladies returning to the show. And it's fine. No one cares, really. Die-hard fans will get a vague explanation on why this switcheroo is happening. Maybe the husband of brunette lady number 1 died in a fire, or she lost her dog, or is moving to Tampa to take care of her ailing mother or something. In the end, it's all the same, because people watch these things to see if they can guess who the murderer/burglar/kidnapper is before the detectives, and maybe watch an explosion or two if the producers still have the budget for it. And you know what? This focus on plot and not characters could make life way easier for game devs, because then they could go wild on the consequences of the alleged choices that matter, that every marketing department of every publisher ever loves to shove down our throats. Since all relevant choices would be restricted to the story of that one episode, they wouldn't have to figure out how the repercussions of opening door A instead of opening door B will affect the grizzled middle-aged detective 3 episodes from now. If the detectives can't save the final victim from the serial killers they're investigating, then that's it. That victim dies and the serial killer escapes. Boom, shocking, deal with it, cry. We might just get a complimentary scene with the grizzled middle-aged detective giving in to his alcoholic tendencies because of guilt. And if we save the victim, we might get some fluff where hot blonde detective and handsome Latino detective give off some serious will they, won't they energy. Just go a little ham with it and people will have fun. You might think that this removes the tension from the story, as we know the characters are never really at risk, but let's be real here. That has always been the case, hasn't it? The thing is, by moving the focus of the consequences from the recurring characters and giving it to the characters that are only featuring this one episode, you create more tension, because then the player knows that these people can most certainly be harmed if they are not careful. To me, this seems like the perfect inspiration for a narrative episodic game. A self-contained 3-hour story with lots of choice variety within this time limit and not a lot of loose threads for future installments. I think the last time I saw a glimpse of this reality was in A Very Unlikely Suspect. David Cage's Detroit Become Human. Please don't leave, I beg, this will make sense. Just wait. That game has its fair share of problems that I won't discuss here since it's not even episodic, I know. But the dynamic between Android and Detective in the 2 or 3 cases they work on during that game, it helped me envision a great series of fun puzzles and crimes to solve in a dystopic future. That never really comes to fruition because David Cage had other more, questionable angles to work on with the narrative, but that game left me wanting more of this type of truly episodic crime-solving fun, because really, what else is there? I can only think of Sam and Max and maybe LA Noire, but these are over a decade old. And look, I'm not asking for licensed games of procedural slop. I'm saying that procedural slop has endured for so long because its structure can work. Use it as a starting point for something great. The same way Yakuza Like a Dragon has fun with the Dragon Quest formula while doing its own thing, or how the Scream franchise deconstructed slashers while being very much a slasher at heart. The potential for this type of thing is there. And hey, network TV isn't just about procedural cop shows. The episodic structure of its shows could work really well with many other genres of narratives which could inspire narrative episodic gaming, even ones with meatier gameplay. Like, I'm still waiting for something like the X-Files from gaming. Remedy, where is my episodic Control spin-off with agents from the Federal Bureau of Control investigating a killer KFC fryer in one episode and a Node Nokia phone in the next? I would buy that day one guaranteed, and I don't buy day one games often. Horror games could also work well taking inspiration from episodic TV. Does anyone remember Resident Evil Revelations 2? Probably only Claire Redfield fans. I have to ask, was there any point in that game being episodic? There really wasn't. I almost feel like it was only made episodic after the fact because that was trendy back in the day. It is all set in the same island, and the game dynamic is all about switching between Claire trying to escape with Moira and Barry trying to find his daughter with the help of a toddler or something. I don't really remember that game well, do you? And then these two parallel stories get chopped up into 4 episodes in a really uneven way. It's bad. One episode barely features Claire because her story wraps up way earlier than Barry's. What the hell? I can't really think of many other horror episodic releases, but I do think horror could work well in an episodic format as well. The games that Supermassive Games produces are not released in an episodic fashion, but still feel episodic, right? They love distinct chapters and all, Until Dawn even had those preambles that looked like previously on segments from TV shows. Getting inspiration from slashers or other horror movies forced these games to have so many branching paths in which, I don't know, frat bro dies first or lasts until the very end, that I cannot even fathom how big of a nightmare outlining all of that must be. Jesus. However, why not take inspiration from network horror shows? I mean, Buffy or Supernatural could work really well as inspiration for this type of game. Monster hunters or demon hunters or vampire hunters on the road looking for odd jobs, facing off against different creatures in every release. That's fun. That's interesting. It is better than having Wendigos and werewolves that look exactly the same, mind you. I mean, I love episodic games where you just walk around collecting clues and making those damn choices that matter. I'm not asking for a new genre or anything. I just want some more spice and something out of the box. It can be scary or humorous or dramatic, whatever. You can even give me a telenovela episodic thing for all I know. Just give me clearly defined episodes so that my deteriorated attention span can handle it, with a beginning, middle, and end, and just a hint of a through line between episodes. Is that too much to ask? I don't think so, and I hope not. And that's it for today, everyone. If you made it through the end, thank you. You're a trooper. I know the subpar editing is really rough and my voice is really irritating, so you deserve a cookie. Go and grab one. Congrats. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, click the notification bell, and of course, let me know in the comments down below if you think I'm full of shit or if I'm missing out on an amazing episodic game that delivers the goods. Don't forget to check my review on Life is Strange True Colors, and in case you want to know more about Telltale's bankruptcy, I really recommend checking out Super Bunny Hop's video on the subject. And that's all. I'll see you when I see you.